All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, November 12th, and we have a 12-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Maybe that'll bring us some luck, right? November 12th, 12 games on the slate. Who knows? Maybe that's a lucky sign there. But like we always do, guys, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within each game as well as we break it down. But as always, guys, make sure to keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That's where you'll find all of my final plays, so that I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. In terms of how we did yesterday, a nice little positive night. We pick up around 0.55 units, and honestly, we needed that because if you guys know how Monday night went, yeah, that was a rough one, right? So it was nice to pick up at least a half of a unit yesterday, and honestly, largely in part due to the live stream plays that we came away with. If you guys missed it, we went live for a couple hours yesterday, went through all of your plays in the comments, and we ended up picking 4 of them that we liked and rolling with ourselves, and we went 3 in one of those plays. So shout out to you guys that were in the live stream yesterday, because I believe it was like 0.4 units of that 0.55 that we profited yesterday came out of those plays. We went 3 and 1 in those spots there. So yeah, shout out to everyone that tuned into the live stream. Make sure to have those notifications on, guys, so you never miss the live streams. You don't have a consistent live schedule as of right now for the NBA, so you wanna get in those live streams. Have those notification bells on so you don't miss it. But let's bring the temperature down a little bit here, unfortunately. 2 ride of the day plays yesterday, 2 L's. Straight Fire was attempting his 5th win in a row. What a feat, right? Unfortunately, it does not come through. You can see here via the tracker, he did tie IAW for this season's longest active streak. So shout out to Straight Fire for that. But unfortunately, Isaiah Hartenstein does not come through. We also had AO on Hartenstein as well. So we had 2 guys riding the same guy. We're going to move past that one. That was tough to say out loud. But AO had Hartenstein over 10.5 points. He finishes with just 8. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. I jump on board with at least one person's play each and every day and give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you do win, we continue to roll and ride of your plays. You continue to get the shout outs. And like Straight Fire Picks did, you go on a little bit of a streak, right? If you lose, you still get the shout out, but feel the vibes, guys. We're talking about a loss. No one wants that, right? So let's get some bangers down in the comments. We'll see how many people we ride with today. I'm thinking because it's a clean slate, we do 1 or 2. We shall see. But make sure you guys are hearting and liking other people's comments down there, because that's how we decide which one to roll with, whichever one has the most engagement, replies, likes, all that, because it truly is a community aspect of the channel, right? So get those hashtag ride of the days down in the comments, and if you like one, hit the like button on it. But guys, let's go ahead and dive into game number 1. Speaking of hitting the like button, hit the damn like button on the video, hit the subscribe button if you are new. If you're watching on a mobile, hype it up. Let's go ahead and dive into it. First game up, we have the Hornets taking on the Bucks. Hornets 5.5 point dogs at home, total at 231.5. First and foremost, starting with the total, I don't really have any problem leaning towards an over 231 here. Both of these teams, bottom 10 in the league in terms of defensive efficiency. I don't necessarily like the idea of either one of them bearing down and stopping the other, right? So I don't mind an over. I think that, we could see some pace out of the Bucks, especially on the road here. And Charlotte, though they're a bottom 10 pace team over the last 10 games, they still have played some pretty damn high scoring games overall. They're coming off of that loss to the Lakers, 121-111. Prior to that, Miami, 126-108. They've been going up and over this line. So I do think that an over is in play. In terms of where I'd go from a side perspective, there's just too many angles for the Bucks to score, at least in my opinion, in this one. You have the isolation, which obviously is going to favor someone like Giannis, who can just kind of get the ball and put his head down and go. I think he'll be able to post up as well, which could be pretty damn successful. And especially if they're running in transition, like I think it's going to be an over, Giannis will specialize there. But from the other, a couple other notes would be this is a spot in which I think the pull-up jumpers from this Buck squad could be very, very good. And you have guys like Gary Trent Jr., like Ryan Rollins, like AJ Green that may be able to hit from the perimeter. And right now the Hornets rank 25th in terms of stopping points around the perimeter. So I like the Bucks to be able to score the majority of the points in this one and take this one home. And also throw in the fact that, still no LaMelo, no Brandon Miller. I think these guys are due back toward, maybe in a couple days at least for LaMelo, but no Josh Green as well. There's still a ton of guys out for the Charlotte squad. So yeah, give me the Bucks as well as the over. And then in terms of the player props, I mentioned a few names. I would probably say give me Ryan Rollins for like points and assists is over. Don't mind the idea of AJ Green in points, but I think right now for even money, his points are at 10. Like 90% of his shots are going to be threes, so you might as well look for 2 cents less, minus 102, for him to make 3 threes, right? Like I think that 2 cents difference, I don't want to get hung on 9 in a sense. And then, yeah, Gary Trent Jr. is also someone I'd consider, but definitely the third in the line there. All right, next up, we have the Pistons taking on the Bulls. I think it's going to be an awesome game to watch. Pistons 2.5-point favorites at total at 234.5, 2.345. Couple injuries to note here. Looks like we still are going to be without Tobias Harris for this squad, right, on the Pistons side of things. But now Asar Thompson is out, who was getting a little bit of an uptick without Tobias. Cade Cunningham's questionable, Jalen Duren's questionable, and Isaiah Stewart is doubtful. Those are some big injuries for what we're looking at. Also, Josh Giddey on the other end, a massive piece of this Bulls' success so far this year. He's questionable. Now, this is a Pistons squad that is 9-2 on the season, 4-1 at home, 7-4 against the number. Going up against the Bulls, who are 6-4, they started off really, really red hot, right? What are they, 5-0 to start the season? They started off red hot, and they started their season with a win over this Detroit team. Keep that in mind. 6-4 now. They're still 7-2-1 against the number. They've lost 3 straight games against Milwaukee, Cleveland, and San Antonio, so not the easiest of competition. They covered in 2 of the 3 games. So I do think this Bulls team can stick around, but to me, it always will come down to in the paint, which the Bulls prioritize offensively, and the Pistons are one of the best in the league at stopping. So I do lean towards the Pistons in this spot, but there's a big old butt walking around, okay? We gotta have those players playing, right? Especially Cade, especially Jalen Duren. We have to have those guys playing. And speaking of those guys, on my Instagram, at EvPicks, you guys do want to follow me. You can see here, we actually posted yesterday our top 5 in the position. We had Cade Cunningham, top 5 in point guards, and check this out. Centers, we also had Jalen Duren make the list. This is my opinion and all that. We got some comments, people not exactly agreeing with me, but yeah, go ahead and check that out. I just wanted to mention that because, yeah, we're focusing on if Cade's playing and Jalen Duren's playing, and I figured that was a good time to plug the Instagram. So if those guys play, I do not mind the idea of the Pistons here in this spot, especially if Josh Giddey doesn't get the go. In terms of a total, I don't think this one's going to be that high scoring, but again, broken record up in here. If Jalen Duren plays, if Cade Cunningham plays, especially Beef Stew, I mean, he's doubtful, but that's a guy that's been playing some decent defense this year. We're going to need some of these Pistons to play to be able to stop this team in the paint. So, yeah, if all those guys are good to go, especially the main 2 that I mentioned, I like the under. From a player prop perspective, I will say I think there's too much up in the air right now for me to really have a good grasp on it. I would say maybe like a Vucevic threes look. I don't think he's going to be coming into the paint thinking, la-di-da, I'm going to go out there and drop a bunch in the paint, right? And I think the last time they played, which was opening night, he had like 4 threes made. So if you can get Big Vooch for a couple threes, that might be a look there. Next up, we have the Knicks taking on the Magic. So the Knicks are on a back-to-back here after a really good win over Memphis yesterday. I will say Towns played 31 minutes, 40 seconds. Mikal Bridges played 38. Jalen Brunson played 36. Anunoby played 35. So we will want to keep an eye on their expected lineup and injuries throughout the day because obviously being on a back-to-back, I tell you guys all the time, just in case you aren't aware, these teams have until later in the afternoon to submit their injuries and lineups, right? So I wouldn't race to the window for this one if you do like the Knicks, because I guess it wouldn't surprise me if one of those guys is out. Again, wouldn't surprise me if they play either. So again, we'll just kind of keep our eye on it. But the Magic coming off of a win against, I believe it was the Blazers, right? They won 115-112. I'm still kind of waiting for the Magic to get going, right? I've said that how many times every time we talk about them on a daily basis. I think the Knicks are rolling right now. I mean, they've won 5 straight games. They are on a back-to-back, like I mentioned, and they've had one back-to-back so far this year, and they won that one by 17 points. but it was against Washington, so I don't know how much weight to put into that. I would say, much like kind of like we were on the fence with the Pistons based on the injuries, if we have everyone good to go, I don't mind the idea of the Knicks in this spot. I was just talking up how the Knicks clog the paint and play really good defense down low, right? And they did it. They shut down Memphis. That's how Memphis likes to score. Orlando isn't all that different. They'll do it at a little bit slower of a pace, I guess you could say, but I really do look at this Orlando team and say, hey, they're going to prioritize in the paint. I don't think we have to worry about them on the perimeter. So, yeah, I do lean towards the Knicks minus the 4 points. That total at 227, I'm going to lean slightly towards the under. I think this one finishes right around 226-ish, so it's very, very thin. I don't think it's like a massive play for me, even if we get there. I would say that, you know, the Knicks minus 4 would be the thing that I think is prioritized in my mind here. But again, it comes down to the injuries and the injury report. Now, in terms of player props, what I would look at here is, I guess, schematic, right? So this is a Orlando team that's really good at preventing points on the perimeter. So I would look at, you know, someone like Towns or even Anunoby to score down low on them if you're looking for overs. On the flip side, I just got finished saying how the Knicks are good defensively down low, so maybe take a peek at some of these guys that will shoot the 3 for Orlando. There's only one in the starting lineup that shoots the majority of his shots from the 3-point line, and that's going to be Jalen Suggs. So maybe that's a consideration. I do think that he could drain in a few today. His points line's only at 12. He had 20 points in the last game he played in against Boston. I don't mind him over 1.5 threes and or his over 12.5 points. So a couple player prop spots to consider there. Now, guys, before we do move on with the rest of the slate, I want to talk to you about Chalkboard. They have a free pick for new users tonight. James Harden, 0.5 points. I think James Harden will get at least 1 point there. You're also going to get your first deposit 100% matched. If you have not tried out Chalkboard yet, you're missing out on one of the most dynamic and just fun DFS apps out there. If you like player props, it's a great place for you, but what they've done that's very unique is also implemented game picks. Yes, it is not just pick 2 or more player props that you like. No, now you can throw in, you know, Clippers on the money line or the spread or the total, anything like that, right? In terms of game picks, and each and every play that you throw into your entry changes the payout dynamically, kind of like an odds structure. So go ahead and check it out. They always have a ton of discounts that they offer throughout the day as well. One of the best apps in terms of like the pop-up discounts and boosts and deals and promos. So check out Chalkboard, guys. If it's available in your state and you are not on Chalkboard yet, what are you doing? It's super, super fun. That link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Make sure to use code GUYBOSTON when signing up. And let me know on Instagram. Go ahead and DM me. Are you liking Chalkboard? I've been absolutely loving it. And the comments and messages that we've gotten about it makes me feel good about trying to get more people on it, because it really does like just it's a lot of fun, I should say, and you're getting more action in the game. Super easy interface. Genuinely mean that. So go ahead and check it out. Again, that link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Let's jump back into these games. Celtics taking on the Grizz. Celtics just, I don't know what to make of this team. I mean, obviously no Tatum, so as a Celtics fan, I'm not going to sit here and be like, wah. It's like they're missing their best player, one of the best in the league. I get it, but they are frustrating to watch. They lose yesterday due to Kelly Oubre offensive rebound put in with like 8 seconds left. Today, they're on a back-to-back, but as are the Grizzlies. We just got finished talking about the Knicks, and the Knicks mopped up the Grizzlies yesterday, right? Now, this Celtics team, I was talking about on the live stream yesterday, because this is really important for how the Grizzlies play, the Celtics team defensively. I really don't believe the Celtics team is all that good in the paint. I don't. Now, their numbers would say otherwise, right? So far this season, 3rd fewest points allowed in the paint, you know, at home, 3rd fewest as well. But I just can't really, watching them on the eye test, I just can't fully see that. The good thing is they stop the isolation. They stop the pick and roll. So from a Ja Morant standpoint, I do think that they'll give him some trouble today, at least in the paint. I do lean Celtics in this spot. I don't mind the idea of someone like Jaren Jackson or even Jock Landale to make some threes today, because though the Celtics, I just got finished saying that they kind of struggle in the paint, right? I do think that the guys that they're playing at the bigs, like Kata, for example, don't necessarily stretch out there and cover bigs really well at the line and at the 3-point line and on the perimeter. And Jaren Jackson, Jock Landale, like these guys will fire if they're open. We hit Jaren Jackson yesterday over 1.5, right? So I don't mind taking a peek at something like that. But give me the Celtics. Also, probably a slight lean towards the under based on how that Celtics team played yesterday. If you rewind and look back at yesterday's video, I did. Now, luckily, we didn't roll with it. We even talked about it in the live stream. I liked the over in that game. That game finished up at, what, 102 to 100? This Celtics team will certainly slow things down at times. All right, Heat and the Cavs meet again. We had the under in this just a couple days ago, and that game went to overtime, of course, and crushed it for us. Now, there are a bunch of injuries to note in this one here today. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Strus and Tyson all out. Larry Nance Jr. questionable. Bam Adebayo out. And obviously Tyler Hero's out. And Terry Rozier, you can bet on it, he's out. That was a good one. So this is kind of an interesting spot because now you go from a Cleveland lineup that is stacked to Lonzo Ball, Sam Merrill, DeAndre Hunter, Dean Wade, and Jared Allen. I still think Miami's lineup is decent even without Bam, Davion Mitchell. Their D. Mitchell is playing, Norm Powell, Pele Larson, Andrew Wiggins, and Khalil Ware, right? So I'm going to lean towards Miami in this spot. I just don't think Cleveland plays as well when they're missing guys. But to me, if this total's way up there, it's kind of giving that there's going to be a bunch of points either way and all that. And sure, if you're going to have a shootout and someone's going to be, scoring and the next person's going to score, it probably feels pretty good to have 6 points in your back pocket. So I get it. But to me, it's a Miami spot. I just think that they're a little bit more healthy right now, which will lead to a little bit more consistency. You know what I mean? This Cavs team, I've said it for a couple years now that they are so good when healthy. Like one of the best starting five, if not the best starting five in the league. The minute they lose someone, or especially like Mitchell, right? It's like, oof, things get a little dicey for them. Now, I do believe they have, let's see, so they're playing Miami today, and then they play Toronto tomorrow. Those guys may be playing tomorrow. Maybe it's a time to take a peek at them. But for now, they are listed as out. Give me Miami, and I'll lean towards the under. I don't think that we're going to have like a absolute shootout here. I have this game pegged more along the lines of like 236. So I'll lean towards the under. And because of all the injuries, I'll probably stay away from player props here. Next up, we have the Spurs taking on the Warriors. Spurs right now 4.5-point favorites. Warriors coming off of that back-to-back against the Thunder, in which they lose, 126 to 102. Spurs coming off of that win. We kind of already mentioned it earlier against the Bulls, 121 to 117. Let's keep an eye on the Warriors injury report because, they do have some older guys on the squad and they are on a back-to-back year. But as far as the Spurs go, it looks like their starting lineup should be good. De'Aaron Fox, Castle, Vassell, Barnes, and Wembanyama good to go. And I think that spells disaster for this Warriors squad, a team that is allowing, a decent amount of points in the paint right now on the road this year, the third most, 19th in terms of where they rank overall on the season. And this is a Spurs team that is in the restricted area, shooting the ball the 6th most amount of times over the last 10 games, which makes a lot of sense with Wembanyama on your squad, and even De'Aaron Fox driving, right? And Stephon Castle. Like, this team is getting into the damn paint. So I do think that we have a decent enough spot here for, the Spurs to probably win this one by 5 or so. In terms of where we go from a total, I don't mind the over, because as long as Steph's playing and they got some guys playing on the Warriors side of things, this is a Spurs team that has had their struggles a little bit, right, at defending the perimeter, and makes sense because who's wanting to go down there and, mess with Wemby. So teams are getting, I guess a lot of open looks because they have more guys around the perimeter. And this Warriors team, obviously a team that's going to shoot the 3-ball in terms of above the break, 6th highest rate. Now they're taking a lot of catch and shoot threes. They're doing it at the 2nd highest frequency so far this year. And San Antonio is actually decent enough against that. The pull-ups, not so much in terms of how good they are, but the Warriors aren't doing it as much. So I do think that there are some weird ways that we could see this Warriors team make some threes today, but not enough to kind of like put them over the top of the Spurs, just enough to contribute towards an over, I would say. Now, speaking of who we think is going to play pretty well, I talked about in the paint. I could see Wembanyama having a really good game. Also, potentially De'Aaron Fox over points plus assists. It's all the way up at 25.5 now. It does make sense. I mean, the dude's been playing really well, hitting the ground running. But those are two guys that I'd take a peek at here for the Spurs. And then on the other side of things, I mean, you have to consider some of the guys that are going to be taking those catch-and-shoot threes, I would think, right? And the guys that are taking the catch-and-shoot threes on the Warriors are, it looks like it's going to be Steph Curry. I mean, that's not shocking, right? But you also have Moses Moody, Al Horford post. Not exactly what you want to be seeing, I would say, in terms of who you have taking those threes. So I still don't mind the over. I think Steph could have a decent enough game, so maybe that's a player to probably look at that side. But to me, this is a spot in which, yeah, I don't really see exactly how the Warriors get on top of the Spurs. Maybe a Jimmy Butler under. That might be a good consideration because obviously his points are going to come from kind of the mid-range area and definitely in the paint, and I don't really see where he's going to be coming out there and scoring. So maybe a Jimmy Butler under. What is his line as of right now? We didn't pull this one up earlier because I didn't think of it. 17.5 points. I do not mind the idea of a Jimmy Butler under, but we're going to have to wait for the injuries because if Steph gets ruled out, then Jimmy will just have crazy usage. He could have a bad game and get to 18. Rockets, Wizards, I don't even want to spend too much time on this one. I don't think there's much of an angle for player props nor a pick in this game. Rockets are 16.5 point favorites. While I do think it's warranted, I don't think that I can lay 16.5 at this point. And obviously, like I said, it's warranted, so I'm not going to be comfortable taking Washington plus 16.5, right? So I'll lean Rockets. If you have a strong opinion on this game, definitely do not let me change your mind there. In terms of what we have from a total, I would say that this game's probably sitting right around like a 232, so maybe an under. I don't see where the Wizards truly score. So, and also like getting them in their team total under is going to be super low of a number. So that doesn't even seem worth it to me. But I'll lean Rockets in the under. Let's move on. We saved some time there. All right, Pelicans taking on the Blazers. Still no Zion for this squad. Jordan Poole is also out, so this starting lineup is going to be Jeremiah Fears, Trey Murphy, Sadiq Bey, Herb Jones, and Kevon Looney going up against Drew Holiday, Shaedon Sharpe, Toumani Camara, Denny Advia, Abed Abadou, and Donovan Clingan. I would say that this is a good spot for the Blazers, but when you have a good spot, I don't know if it justifies 8.5 points. Like, that's a decent amount here to be laying on the road, right? And this Portland's team has been kind of shocking to me, but they've also, I don't want to say fallen off, but you know how they were really good at the beginning of the year and they were kind of like looking really good, and they beat the Nuggets, they beat the Warriors at one point. They've now lost 3 of their last 4. They did beat the Thunder, so you know, in one ear, out the other if you want, because their wins are quality wins. But I think that even drives the point home even more that when they play teams like the Pelicans, I don't think that they're mopping them up. You know what I mean? So I'm going to lean towards the Pelicans. Sounding the psycho alert alarm because, again, I think it's a good spot for the Blazers. I just don't know about a 9-point win for these guys, right? So overall, yeah, I get it, but I could see this being like a 118 to 113, 118 to 112 type of a game, and the Pelicans cover by, 2-3 points in a sense. So give me the Pels. Obviously, when I have that 118, like it's pretty much close to this line at 231. I will lean towards an under here. This is a Portland team that obviously can score in the paint, and they do score in the paint. That is a big issue for this Pelicans squad, but at the same time, if anybody wants to shoot threes on the Pelicans side of things, which you have Trey Murphy, Sadiq Bey, even Herb Jones shooting a lot of threes, they should be able to score against this the Portland team. But when you look at, so obviously they'll be like, oh, well, duh, why aren't you looking at an under? Even though they like to do that, you're still looking at the 5th worst offensive efficiency team in the league in the Pelicans, and then a team that is ranked 18th. So what would that be? The 13th worst or something like that in terms of offensive efficiency there. So yeah, I don't necessarily mind the idea of an under, even though we have 2 ways that both these teams can score. I can't sit here and be like, well, with those guys out for the Pelicans and even the Blazers, if they do get theirs in the paint, they're going to be counting by 2s. I can't see a very efficient game. Real quick, guys, if you've not tried it yet, head over to the merch store and pick up some merch. Try some of this stuff out, guys. You will love it. This is the Gambler Football 25 hat, rope hat, nice design there. This is a snapback, really good quality stuff that we have on the store. You can see a bunch of sample products that came in behind me there. One of our newest launches, the Football Couch Club, right here, an embroidered hat here, structured snapback as well. A bunch of cool stuff over on the store. FadeMe.store. I'll also put a link down in the description as well as the pinned comment. FadeMe.store or GuyBostonSports.com/store if you do want to pick up some awesome merch and support us at the same time. Try some of this stuff out, guys. I swear you will like it. No BS. We put a lot of time and effort into quality products. Dallas taking on the Suns here right now. Dallas, a pick'em favorite. Total sitting at 226.5. This is an interesting one, I will say. I think the Dallas Mavericks defense could be pretty good here in a sense, right? This is a Phoenix team that's been scoring a lot from the perimeter. That is where Dallas has absolutely specialized. The perimeter. I was going to say, did I have that right? The perimeter, yes. And then, from the paint is where you kind of get this Dallas team. But guess what? This is the Suns team that is ranked 28th in terms of points in the paint so far this year and last 329th. So I don't think they're going to be shooting too much in the paint. In fact, at the restricted area right now, last 10 games, 30th. So the dead last team in terms of frequency. So yeah, they're going to look at the above the break. I think Dallas shuts that down. In terms of how Dallas scores, that's where I get a little like, where are they going to score from, right? So if Dallas plays good defense, and I think that they can kind of get a leg up that way, and I still don't know exactly where they score from, then hell, I'm going to lean towards the under 226 here in this spot. In terms of where we go from the side, though, yeah, it is Dallas, but I could see someone liking the Suns because one little nugget of information would be that Dallas has struggled against the pull-up. That's like Devin Booker's middle name, right? So we'll see. But I do think that, Anthony Davis being back in the lineup could help, and them being able to score in the paint could help. Their entire lineup likes to prioritize scoring in the paint. Brandon Williams, Cooper Flagg, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and Daniel Gafford. That's the projected starting lineup. They all love scoring in the paint and shooting in the paint. So, yeah, if Anthony Davis plays, because he should be back in the lineup here, I like Dallas and the under in this spot, and honestly don't mind Anthony Davis in general. As long as his minutes are going to be, good to go, I think this could be a decent enough spot for him. But if you like the sound of that, I would definitely do your own due diligence, trying to keep an eye on anything on social media, anything the coach or the team's saying on his minutes, because he's missed like 5 or 6 games, right? So that's enough to be like, hey, there might be some sort of a minutes cap on him, because he hurt it's a lower body injury. Thunder Lakers. We had that nice little same game parlay with Shea and the Thunder last night. Now they're on a back-to-back, and they take on a Lakers squad. And in terms of how the Lakers are shaping up injury-wise, Luka's good to go. Reeves is good to go. Both those guys have had recent, injury designations. Marcus Smart, Rui Hachimura, DeAndre Ayton, all good to go. On the Thunder side of things, same injuries that we've seen, right? But again, they are on a back-to-back, so like I always say, take it with a grain of salt. Keep an eye on it, because what we have right now may not even be the expected lineup, right, or the confirmed lineup. I don't mind the idea of the Thunder again. My problem is, in terms of no rest situations, they haven't covered in one of those so far this season, but I think they only had 2 of those, and one was against Sacramento in a bad spot where they went from Dallas to Sacramento, or from Dallas to Oklahoma City, I think, and they ended up winning that game, but they didn't win it by, I think they were like 10-point favorites. They won 107-101. Then they had another opportunity against the Portland Trailblazers, and that was the game we talked about earlier, that Portland actually beat them outright in like a collapse. So both of those you can kind of explain how they happened. So though they haven't been great in back-to-backs, like, this is still a far better team than the Lakers, I would think. And the Lakers, yes, they're decent enough at stopping points in the paint, but I just think that Shea's going to be able to isolate and get down there again. So I'm going to lean Thunder here. If you do like the Lakers, I would say that I would hope that they'd be shooting a little bit more from the 3-point line and stuff, because that's how you beat this Thunder team offensively. I mean, the Thunder are phenomenal in terms of points in the paint and points at the restricted area. That really isn't like what the Lakers have been doing. 7th highest in the paint frequency in terms of shots, and then mid-range 10th. In terms of those two zones for the Thunder, in the paint, 33.7% field goal percentage to their opponents. That is deadly. And then on the other end, right, or the other side, the other zone, the mid-range, 30.1 to their opponents. I question, where do you think this team is going to score from if you like the Lakers? So I'm going to lean towards the Thunder, but I'll also lean under, because I did give you that little nugget that this Lakers team ain't all that bad at stopping points directly, in the paint there. So that's how I would do it. In terms of what we have from a player prop perspective, I mean, anyone that's going to shoot the threes. So you have Luka, Austin Reeves. Their lines are going to be fairly high. There might be a nice little sneaky look at someone like Marcus Smart to be able to hit some catch and shoot jumpers today. Thunder dead last in terms of catch and shoot defense to their opponents. So if Marcus Smart's spotting up and has some catch and shoot opportunities, could be a really good spot for him to hit a couple threes. Now, the only problem with that, and I will admit it is a problem, is that this is a guy that, has not been shooting the ball all that much, right? He'll have games where he shoots a ton, and then he'll have games where literally he shoots like 1 3, not even enough to hit 2 threes. So we'll see where he comes out there, but I do think that this could be a decent spot for Marcus Smart to drain in a couple because of the way this Thunder team plays defense. Kings taking on the Hawks here. Hawks still without Trae Young. Obviously, that's worth noting. I've kind of gone back and forth on this game a few different times. In terms of injuries on the Kings side of things, they should be, good to go. Keegan Murray's still out, and then you have, I want to say Devin Carter is questionable, but nonetheless, should be good to go overall. This Sacramento team's coming off of a loss yesterday to Denver, so they're on the back-to-back. Sabonis did play in that one, 25 minutes. Levine played 34 minutes. DeMar only played 31 minutes, so I expect these guys to play today. On the other side of things, Hawks coming off of a win against the Clippers. I liked them plus 4.5, and we put them in a damn parlay with the Pistons that game and kind of screwed us. But the way this Hawks team has been shooting has either been, in the restricted area and like dead in the restricted area, right? Or shooting from the corner three. This Sacramento squad defensively has not been holding up their end of the bargain on either one of those spots. Now, I do think that Sacramento can also probably score on this Atlanta team, so maybe it's a lean towards the over at 233 for me, but I do think from a side perspective, the Hawks win this one by, 5+ in a sense, so that's where I have it pegged, but I have gone back and forth because I do think that there's more talent on the Kings side and they're at home, but they are on a back-to-back, and I think that is worth noting, right? Now, in terms of their no-rest situation so far this year, they're yet to cover in one of those, but I want to say they only had one, and they played, they played the Bulls in Chicago, and that was when the Bulls were rolling, We had the Kings team total under in that spot. So I get it, but I just think that this is a Hawks team that should be able to score on Sacramento, but the Kings, to a lesser degree, but still should be able to score on Atlanta. So give me the over, but I'll lean towards the Atlanta Hawks. I think that they can also, a big one to note here is back-to-back. Atlanta likes to run. Sacramento may have some tired legs. In terms of where I'd go player prop-wise, it's probably, if he plays, this is also a big one. I should have mentioned this. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is also questionable. No Trae Young, no Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I'm off the Hawks, you know what I mean? That's going to be tough. But I like him as well as Jalen Johnson. Both of those guys are guys that we can trust running in transition. So maybe there's some angles to get there, right? Jalen Johnson, especially on a back-to-back, I think could do some serious damage. But I just haven't liked how high his line has been. It's been at like 20.5, 21.5. His ceiling to me is like 25. And his floor is like 15, which it's tough to read there, right? From a Nah perspective, he's been absolutely crushing it when he does play. And again, he's a guy that will run in transition as well. So if he plays, I like his points. I also like his points plus assist. He should be getting a decent amount of potential assists with the ball in his hand a lot. Clippers taking on the Nuggets. Obviously, we want to keep an eye on the injury report here as Denver's on a back-to-back, and the Clippers have a bunch of guys that need walkers to get around, right? Bradley Beal's listed as out. Kawhi Leonard's listed as out as of right now. This Nuggets team is obviously a very, very good team. On a back-to-back, I believe they've looked okay on their back-to-back so far this year. That was against Indiana, though, so much like the game we talked about earlier, it's like, how much credit do we want to put into that? Not so much on my end, but this line is so low, and it's getting lower at -2.5. If Murray's playing, if Jokic is playing, how can we not look at the Nuggets? I know they're traveling, I get it, but this is still a team that is like realistically so much better than the Clippers without Kawhi and I guess without Beal, you know what I mean? So sure, give me the Nuggets here, but it is tough to really want to settle down on that one when knowing they're on a back-to-back, right? Now, in terms of where the Clippers have been good defensively, it has been in the paint, which could give the Nuggets some struggle here. But overall, not enough for me to get off them, right? Enough for me to consider an under, though. Maybe this isn't the most efficient game, and the Nuggets team, I believe, is ranked number 1 in terms of offensive efficiency so far this year, but it could be not exactly their most efficient, I guess I would say, right? And at least I would say against the Pacers on that back-to-back, they came nowhere near the total going over in that game. So give me the under as well as the Nuggets. I'll hold off on player props for now, but make sure to keep an eye, like I always tell you guys, on the pinned comment for the final plays, just in case we do add anything player prop wise once the lineups kind of get cemented in. But guys, it's gonna wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead and comment 33. Shout out to Larry Bird. If you can think of another player that wore 33, there's a bunch of them out there, right? Did Keem wear number 33? Am I making that up? Or is he 34? Whatever. Go ahead and comment 33 and let me know your favorite NBA player that wore number 33. It doesn't have to be the best ever that wore it, you know what I mean? It would just be whoever you think of when you think of number 33. But that's gonna wrap for me, guys. Hope you guys enjoy the day, enjoy the video. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.